What's up, guys? Paul Richards here with the StreamGeeks, and today we are going to be breaking down OBS versus vMix. You guys asked for it, so here we go. It's time to review two of the top live streaming and video production software solutions today. We're going to compare Open Broadcaster software with vMix, and these two software solutions are quite different, but they're very important for so many video producers. In fact, myself, I use vMix every single day, and I use OBS all the time as well. As a video maker, vMix is kind of like my Photoshop if I was a digital editor. And OBS is kind of like my open source playground that I'm always checking out to see what can be done, because there's so many people using it and it's open source and the plugins are always getting better. It's such a good piece of software. So I love it so much, but I really want to get into it today. So first of all, let's start with the obvious. Open Broadcaster software is free and open source. vMix, on the other hand, has a free option and a generous 90-day unwatermarked free trial, but for extended use with HD, it's going to cost you $60. And I think that's really affordable. But the other big difference is that OBS works on Windows, Mac, and Linux. And it's open source and it's free. So right off the bat, it's kind of different than vMix and always will be. So if you're a Mac user or you're a Linux user, check out Mimo Live or Ecamm Live or even Wirecast. But today we're digging into basically vMix versus OBS. So vMix has got that great free option, but it's SD. It's not full HD. So we're going to be comparing the basic HD to OBS, which is full HD. But we're going to keep in mind that vMix has these great 4K and Pro options that can cost up to $1,200. So we're going to kind of dig into why you might want to pay that much and why it's important to really think about where you want to go with your video production systems. So this is what this comparison is going to go over, because you got to remember that there's a pretty steep learning curve with this type of software, whether it's OBS or vMix or anything, OBS, TriCaster, Wirecast, XSplit. There's going to take a number of times for you to learn how to use this software. And so you want to just start with the right one, right? Because you could spend 20, 30, 40 hours that could be wasted. You could waste an entire week learning a software that eventually won't have the capabilities that you need. But let me stop right there, because OBS supports NDI. So regardless of whether you buy almost any of these solutions, OBS and NDI together will allow you to connect OBS to another vMix system, another Wirecast system, or XSplit. So learning OBS is always going to be a great idea. And you will get a free copy of my book, The Unofficial Guide to Open Broadcaster Software, if you'd like, in the links below, because I'm such a big fan of it. It can do so much for you. So you'll likely end up using your OBS skills in some way, shape, or form throughout your career as an OBS or video production expert. So by default, OBS's interface looks a lot different than vMix, but actually you can turn OBS's interface to make it look a little bit more like vMix. So by default, OBS has a single live output screen. There's an area for scenes, which are essentially collections of sources. There's an area for sources. There is an audio mixer. There's some transitions, and there's some main controls all at the bottom. But what we're going to do today is we're actually going to customize it so that we can turn it into studio mode, pick a little bit of a nicer looking, darker colored theme, and it's going to look a lot more like vMix, which is awesome because vMix's interface is really one of the best in the world. So go ahead to settings in your OBS and you can change the theme and hit apply, which gets you that nicer kind of cool looking color. And then you can go into studio mode, which is going to get you the preview and program. So if you're an OBS user, you're trying to do something a little bit more professional, go ahead and do that because it's just great and it's going to make your system look a lot better. So once you've got studio mode on, from an interface standpoint, there's still some major differences between OBS and vMix. So vMix has a lot of a different setup, really. But with OBS, you can still really create an awesome animated system where you've got maybe a sidebar and all these layers. So it's got a layering system, whereas vMix has a overlay system, and we'll talk about that in a moment. So here's vMix. You've got that preview and the live output sections. The transitions are nested in between. And then you've also got this awesome full screen option, the ability to hit the record button and the stream button really quickly. And the biggest difference here is all of those little live thumbnails. So it's really easy to just click a thumbnail and have it go to preview or output super quickly. Now, OBS is looking a lot more like vMix, but here you can see that vMix has all of these live little tablets down here, and each one of them can be double-clicked and looked at in a lot more detail. So here's my vMix setup here, and you can see we have all those transition buttons to cut between, and we can double-click any of these sources, and if you've got the 4K or professional version, you can even pan, tilt, zoom PTZ optics cameras. And we'll talk about actually having that ability in OBS as well, but you can just quickly do color corrections and change the saturation. And it's just really nice. With the click of a button, you can be looking at waveform monitors, and we'll talk a little bit more about color correction in a little bit here, but it's really awesome. And the interface allows you to quickly do some of the most professional tools in the industry at a click of a button. It's incredible that for $60 you actually get access to all of this. And I'm just a huge fan. I've been using it for years, and I was able to grow into my use of vMix, and I kind of grew out of the tools that OBS offers. Here you can see the multi-view. You can have actually 10 layers of multi-view on any individual input. So you can kind of build scenes the way that OBS builds scenes, but it's a little bit more powerful because now every input can have is basically its own scene, to use OBS terminology. So OBS is pretty awesome, I have to say. And the next part of this overview is let's take a look at the OBS and vMix audio systems. So here we have OBS, and right in the middle there, you're going to see the OBS audio mixer. And I'm a big fan of the OBS audio mixer. It's totally usable, and you can actually have what's called a VST2 plugins. Now, vMix supports VST3, and that's an important distinction because VST2 is really not very well supported out there anymore. But you can go into your mixer and you can apply all of these great filters to any audio source in your OBS system, and it really does make your OBS sound a lot better. So VST stands for Virtual Studio Technology. You can go into the filters and add a bunch of audio filters and compressors, and even without VST2, it's really good. And you have the ability to kind of send different audio tracks, different audio systems to different tracks. You can decide what you want to monitor. And the monitor output of OBS can actually be used kind of as a virtual audio cable. Now, going over to vMix, you can see here we've got the audio mixer on the sidebar that can also be popped out. But VST3 plugins are really where the magic happens in vMix. You can get these plugins. They are the latest in the industry. This is what everybody uses on Pro Tools and the professional level. Here's two of my favorites. We've got NS1, which is like a magical noise suppression plugin that really just works magic. And then the Renaissance Axe is something that we use. Those are like our two starters here. Let me show it to you on a microphone input so you can see it a little bit more detailed there. This is my microphone. I've got that noise suppression that you can just kind of crank up until all the background noise is gone. And then your Renaissance Axe, which just makes your voice so much better present. And it's a great solution. It's an incredible compressor, makes your voice sound fuller and easier to understand when you are out there and streaming. Finally, vMix offers a ridiculous amount of audio buses that can be used to route audio out. vMix also generally will automatically choose a audio offset. In OBS, it's one of the biggest issues. You've got to add audio offset, to sync your audio and video, and something that has to happen like all the time. So it's something that vMix does automatically. If you're using OBS, you probably want to go in there and set those audio off syncs, at least at like 25, 50 milliseconds. It'll make your production sound better if you need it, but most times you actually do need it. Now, OBS has the ability to stream to one location. So that is a big difference between OBS and vMix. If you go into the settings here, we can go to the stream section, and it does support a decent amount of integrations with Twitch and other content delivery networks that allows you to log in and you have the ability to stream without needing to retrieve your stream key all the time. So that's really great. In fact, OBS has a great amount of options for control of your stream. You can do really high quality bitrate streams. But in the, I didn't want to show that. I'll go to here real quickly. In the streaming settings here, you have in vMix, you have all these options, probably more options than OBS, to log in and pick a server, but also tons of great quality options and the ability to start a stream really easily. So you can stream up to 3 destinations with vMix. You can start and stop any of those 3. So it gives you a really good option for controlling what you can do inside of vMix. Now, if you're using OBS, you can purchase a restreaming software that will actually in the cloud take your single stream and stream it to many different destinations. And that might be the best option for you if you don't have enough computing power or bandwidth to handle streaming to 3 destinations at the same time. Now let's look at graphics. Putting it all together, OBS, really, I've seen some of the most amazing streams with OBS. A lot of Twitch streamers are generally really good with Photoshop and After Effects, and they create these amazing live productions using OBS. They're not using anything crazy. It's a free online software. They're just getting really creative with HTML graphic overlays, video clips that are automatically playing, and they're triggering scenes, and it's really incredible. In fact, Streamlabs has the Streamlabs version of OBS that makes this process even easier. But OBS does not come with any stock graphics. vMix, on the other hand, comes with plenty. In fact, vMix has 2 awesome tools. One of them you're seeing here is the GT title editor. It's the animated graphic title editor from vMix, and it's really awesome. It basically allows you to create animated titles and overlays very quickly. You can have tons of different layers inside of it and choose the way that you would like them to transition in and out. So this can all be saved and exported out of GT title editor and then imported directly into OBS. This is like an expensive piece of software that you might have had to pay for otherwise. It has all these great features for, managing the delay and time for all of these graphics. So it's incredibly powerful. Now, we're not even going to touch on the fact that vMix has an incredible amount of stock virtual sets as well. Virtual sets are really cool, but let's take a look at all of the titles that are included with vMix. So here you can see I just hit the add input button, and now I'm going to scroll down and show you, I would guess there's like 50 to 100 stock titles that you can add and customize very easily. In fact, you can import data into these titles using another feature with vMix that we're not going to be able to get into. We can't get into all of them, but you can use like data sources and things to import data into your titles. Here's a look at just some of the virtual sets that vMix has to offer. It's pretty incredible. And then the final tool that really sets vMix apart is called vMix Social. This integrates with Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and not LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And then it brings all of the chats into a curated experience via a web browser, so you can access that anywhere on your local area network by clicking that IP address. It can be, triggered to automatically use one of the overlays to be used. And it's just super powerful. We use it all the time here and we got to love it. But next major feature that between OBS and vMix, OBS does have some basic color correction tools, but they've basically got some simple stuff here. With vMix, you can have color correction on the level of like DaVinci Resolve. So when you compare what OBS can do, which you can go into the filters of a video source and you can use some color correction, and it does include the ability to adjust gamma, contrast, brightness, saturation, hue, and even the overall opacity, which is pretty cool. You can even apply a LUT, which stands for look up table, to imply a consistent color grade over multiple cameras. It comes with some interesting ones here, as you can see, and they're kind of similar to like a Snapchat or an Instagram filter. But when you compare the tools inside of OBS with vMix, and I get it, vMix is a paid system, what OBS offers is a little bit primitive when it comes to professionals who want to do color correction. So vMix offers some really cool tools. The color correction that can be applied to any camera has 3 color wheels, one for lift, one for gamma, and one for gain. You can use these with color bars instead of the color wheels, which is nice because when you're using a color wheel, you're always adding color but taking away from another part at the same time. Using color bars, you can adjust the red, green, and blue independently, which is really nice. But beyond color correction itself, vMix includes some professional waveform monitor and vector scope tools that can be used so you can really dig into the data and look at your video sources through these tools. You can click that monitor option there to view the video with a preview directly next to a waveform monitor or vector scope monitor. This is super professional in the industry. And if you're an industry professional, you go, I'm sure you're saying, yep, that's what I'm used to. That's what I need. If you are just learning about color correction, it's pretty incredible that you can gain access to this tool for only $60, which is the HD version of vMix. So if you care about how your productions look and you really want to dig into the production side of things, this is really an incredible part of it all. Now, the next thing that I wanted to mention is the PTZ camera controls. So with OBS, there are 2 options for PTZ camera controls. PTZ Optics does offer basically two options. One is a plugin, and the other is a dockable OBS window, which is pretty cool. So you can actually dock that directly into vMix or to OBS, and you can control it. It's pretty awesome. As you can see, we're using it here, and it solves a lot of issues for folks who want to control their camera directly inside of OBS. Now, if we look at what it looks like in vMix, there's some extra little features here. It's built right into the tab, and you can create presets very easily, which is what vMix has had since version 17. So I have to say, this is really incredible, the ability to create these little presets. They become their own inputs inside of vMix. So you can just click them. The idea of this is that you click it and it changes the input in preview, and then you can transition to it once the camera has been changed. So if you're a one-man production system, it's great. You can see here I just changed the speed to super slow, and then you can change the speed to super fast. You can also change the speed of presets. So if you want the presets to go very slowly, you can do so simply by changing that button, and now you have these slow sweeping pans directly inside of vMix. So it's really awesome. I know we're taking a lot of time here. I got a couple more things, guys. The next is NDI. So OBS supports NDI, and that's a main reason why, regardless of whether you use vMix or OBS, you should probably learn how to use OBS, because it's totally free and it supports NDI inputs and outputs. NDI stands for Network Device Interface, and it's a royalty-free IP video production protocol that allows you to send and receive high-quality, low-latency video over your network. This means you can send video from one place to another totally for free, possibly from your OBS system back into your vMix system. So let's take a look at this in vMix because it really is pretty incredible. We open up the settings here and we see that we can offer all these inputs and outputs, up to 4 different unique outputs with the ability to kind of throttle the bandwidth a little bit between SD, 720, or 1080. Plus, you have the ability to turn all cameras, all video inputs, and all audio outputs into NDI outputs. We use this all the time just to grab audio from a specific area, to grab video from a specific area. It's pretty incredible. Now, let me show you guys the last one here on my list. There's a lot more that we weren't able to cover, but the vMix web controller is pretty incredible. It allows you to control everything in vMix directly through an IP address. And look at that awesome interface, really easy to use with a touchscreen. This allows you to, really just host your live streams and produce them 100% yourself. All through the quarantine, when I haven't been able to have a producer here, we've been doing all our live streams this way. You can also gain access to all of the shortcuts that you set up, so you can remotely hit record or stream. You can even remotely edit titles, and I've seen actually schools use this to have a graphic title editor using that. You can also access vMix Social, so a lot of times I will edit the entire or produce the entire show, and then also use, basically I'll be shooting the show and then also looking at the social media coming in. Whew, that has been a lot. But I wanted to show you guys unofficial guide to open broadcaster software. Learning all of this, I think it's worth checking that out. It also comes with an online course that you could take. I also have an online course for vMix. So I'm going to put those links below. And I hope you guys learned something. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If there's a feature in OBS you think I should have covered, a feature in vMix maybe I should have covered. We hit about 22 minutes, so I got to wrap this up. But don't forget to subscribe because we are always producing new videos. You're not going to become a video production expert overnight, but joining the StreamGeeks, I think you're going to become a video production expert with us. We have a great Facebook group of others who are learning and joining together. So there you go, guys. OBS versus vMix. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below.